Last time on Dragonball Z. The universe is ruled by the uncanny power of the Frieza Force. Passed down from King Cold to Lord Frieza, the universe has only become more miserable as time goes by. The Saiyans, who make up a majority of the army, have had it the worst as they are worked to near enslavement. Slowly, though, other races see the atrocities they had committed under Frieza's orders. Morality is at an all-time low. Even those who would usually be loyal begin to doubt the cause, from the Ginyu Force to Zarbon himself. How will this affect the future of the Frieza Force? The revolution begins now. An unparalleled alliance. What if the Frieza Force rebelled against Frieza?
Our story starts with Frieza overlooking planet Vegeta. He was afraid of the legend of Super Saiyan God coming true, let alone the Super Saiyan. There is a sensible air of anxiety through the room. Berry Blue sensed it too. Kikono, the top scientist in Frieza's army, stood next to her. He was terrified of Frieza. Then, they heard the words they would never thought to hear. Frieza told them how he wanted to kill every single Saiyan, and that he wanted them all in planet Vegeta within the month. Kikono cringed at the idea. That was nearly half their entire army gone, because of some stupid legend, maybe even more. He couldn't allow that. His people were already enslaved under Frieza, their planet sold. He needed to do something, anything. But how could he? He was just a scientist. Then, he thought of something. Frieza must be scared of the Saiyans for a reason. Not just because of the legend, but because they are truly capable fighters. He could warn them. Kikono nodded and dismissed himself. As Frieza called for the Saiyans, Kikono entered a small pod, leaving for a distant planet. The small alien entered a dark room filled with a good number of soldiers. A bar, it seemed. But nobody was ordering, because in the middle there was a drinking battle between Captain Ginyu and Recoome. Not alcohol, of course, just milkshakes. Everyone cheered as the captain outdrank Recoome, gaining an advantage because of a brain freeze. But Kikono stood on the table. All the soldiers stared at him. Without saying a word, he took off his scouter and pressed the off button. The soldiers all understood, shutting off their own scouters.
The time has come. Lord Frieza plans on destroying the Saiyans. That would mean more than double the work for us, since they are already half the army. But aren't we all tired of this damn tyrant already? Tired of living in fear?
There was a gloomy silence. The Ginyu Force giggled in their own group. They had already known Kikono's plans for a long time. They agreed with them. They wanted Frieza gone as much as the others. Although they supported his efforts, they always thought it was impossible to take down Frieza.
What makes you think we can take him on? Even us, the strongest in his army, are nothing against Frieza.
But he fears the Saiyans. Legend or not, they have incredible potential. They are stupid, yes, but we can use them well for this. And in exchange, they can be free.
Heh, a lot of soldiers out there will remain loyal, you know. What's that one, Sorbet? No way he'll rebel.
He's nothing. Zarbon and Dodoria have already expressed interest in the cause, and they are the closest to him. Besides Berry Blue, that is. We just need the help of the Saiyans.
Everyone stared at Ginyu. It was all up to him.
You son of a bitch! I'm in.
The room cheered around him, and Kikono shook his hand. The plans were set into motion. Zarbon and Dodoria were both sent by Frieza to kill Saiyans who were taking too long to return to Vegeta. For Dodoria, this included Bardock's squadron. Bardock and Leek had already gone ahead of the squad while they finished up the planet. Dodoria approached the squad with their proposition, making sure they turned off their scouters first. They didn't believe him, and in fact, a small battle ensued. They were nothing against Dodoria, of course, but he and the other Frieza soldiers didn't kill the Saiyans. Instead, Dodoria, who was stepping on Tora's chest, said,
You think I wouldn't have killed you already if I was still loyal to Frieza? Together we can take him down. I know how much you Saiyans hate him.
Dodoria stepped off of Tora and extended his hand out. The Saiyan looked over at Fasha, who nodded. Dodoria smiled as Tora took his hand. Similar stories happened all around the universe. Since Dodoria was sent to kill them, though, they needed to disguise themselves and keep low until things were in order. As far as Frieza knew, Bardock's squad was dead. Zarbon was the only one tasked with going down and convincing the king. They reluctantly allowed him inside the castle. Frieza thought he was there to tell the king to tell the Saiyans to hurry, but no, Zarbon did something unexpected. He kneeled before King Vegeta. This came as a huge shock to everyone, and it wounded Zarbon's pride deeply. But he explained everything to the king. So, Frieza wanted to kill them all. Well, let's see about that. King Vegeta told Zarbon he'd see what he can do, and told his guards to call down Vegeta and Nappa. Zarbon told the king one last thing before he left. He said no doubt all the Saiyans working together will be a lot of power, but that he'd heard tales of Lord Frieza being able to transform, not unlike his own transformation. King Vegeta's forehead let a sweat drop fall. This wasn't going to be easy. He hated to admit it, but if he wanted to do this right, then he might need an ace. His son was powerful, yes, but no doubt Paragus' son was even stronger now, if he was still alive. He knew that he could not convince Paragus himself, so he asked Zarbon. Zarbon agreed to see what he could do. But in the background, Frieza had become suspicious. He decided to wait it out, however. No doubt the Saiyans wanted to rebel, but he could take care of them himself. Now, he just needed to wait a month. Meanwhile, on planet Vegeta, Bardock and Guinea sent out their son to another planet, Earth. They had been told, along with every other Saiyan, about what Frieza was planning. This means a few other Saiyan babies were sent out as well, though most parents just didn't care enough to bother. Per Frieza's request, Zarbon kept rounding up the Saiyans from Outer Worlds. This gave him an excuse to go after Paragus and Broly. As Zarbon landed, he quickly detected a huge power level. He was surprised to find Paragus. He guessed this was the power King Vegeta was talking about, but he didn't seem that powerful. Paragus launched himself at Zarbon, begging to be taken home. Zarbon pushed the Saiyan aside and told him all about the rebellion, after turning off his scouter. Paragus told Zarbon that he'd do anything as long as he got to escape from Vampa. So, Zarbon told him to follow him onto his ship.
Wait a minute!
Paragus said as he ran back.
Where are you going? We have to go now.
Zarbon's eyes focused on a small kid play fighting with a huge green monster. After some more yelling, Paragus warned Broly that he'd kill Ba if Broly didn't come along.
Broly, we're saved! Stop playing with that beast and come here!
Broly finally agreed.
King Vegeta. He feared Broly's power. It's funny that now he seeks our help. Once this fight is over...
Paragus just chuckled. Zarbon dismissed it. It wasn't his business what this ridiculous Saiyans did. He just wanted out of the army.
If your boy over there proves to be as much of a monster as people say he is, then I guarantee King Vegeta will be no issue. Paragus, my dear friend, and this must be Broly. Boy, he's grown.
Paragus flinched when King Vegeta patted him on the back. The exiled Saiyan clenched his fist and really had to hold back the urge to punch King Vegeta. No, he had to be patient.
Yes, my lord. It'll be an honor to serve you once more.
Not long after, the day of reckoning arrived. Everything was set into motion. No one knew exactly how Frieza wanted to destroy planet Vegeta, but they were ready. As Frieza looked down to the planet, he smirked, remembering the day when he took over the Force from his father. It didn't matter now. Frieza's soldiers all hovered around the ship, waiting for the fireworks, those still loyal to him, at least. Frieza began to charge his ki on top of his finger, but down below the Saiyans were expecting it, and they burst their auras in unison. Broly stood behind Paragus, both calm and collected in front of King Vegeta and his elites. Bardock and his squad, including Guinea, stood tall in the face of danger and adversity. The huge ki ball above them didn't strike any ounce of fear in their hearts. They had to get this right. Dodoria and Zarbon stood behind Frieza, smirking, as Frieza laughed, ready to launch the sphere. He felt a sharp pain in the back of his neck. Zarbon's eyes widened.
Dodoria, you fool!
He shot Frieza far too early. The reinforcements weren't up there yet. Frieza turned back to look at Dodoria, who shook in fear. The ki sphere disappeared while Frieza turned back, incredibly angry. Zarbon freaked out a little bit inside, instantly punching Dodoria in the gut, killing him. At least for a few seconds, Frieza won't suspect Zarbon.
What is the meaning of this? Zarbon, why would Dodoria have attacked me?
As Frieza finished his sentence, his scouter beeped incredibly fast. Behind him, a huge army of soldiers rushed at him from planet Vegeta.
Damn it, Dodoria! I guess your stupidity gave us the opening we needed.
Those still loyal to Frieza tried shooting at the rebellion, but there were far too many. Paragus led the charge as the general he was before, commanding the forces to attack head-on. Frieza's eyes had never been so furious before. He's about to kill Zarbon, who clearly is in on this, but the blue alien was already gone. Bardock had saved him, and taken him far away. Frieza stood up straight, cracking his neck. Even the Ginyu Force had betrayed him?
So, all of you have betrayed me. Nothing I can't handle. Berry Blue, bring out all of our remaining forces. You will pay for your insolence!
More and more soldiers loyal to Frieza began to show up, attacking the rebellion. Bardock and his squad did what they could in the front lines, with Bardock getting some compliments from Ginyu in particular. Paragus used both his gun and ki blast to attack the incoming soldiers, managing to kill a fearful Qui. King Vegeta and the Prince mostly sat back and watched, while Nappa, Raditz, and Broly defended them. Prince Vegeta was astonished by the power of Broly, insulted even, but he knew when to shut up and fight. Bardock and his squad fought valiantly against Frieza, but nobody stood a chance against the tyrant. Ginyu was nearly killed in the fight, but saved by Jeice, who died in front of him. But they all had their plans set into motion, if Zarbon was to be trusted at least. As more forces fell, the battlefield was brought down to planet Vegeta, where the ships crashed down as soldiers shot them down. Everyone was being pushed to their limit. Zarbon had to transform. Goldo was supporting everyone with the time stop. And King Vegeta launched an artificial moon.
Burst open and mix!
All around, hundreds of Saiyans transformed into fearsome Ozarus. Frieza was finally getting overwhelmed himself. He would never admit it, but he was seriously frightened. High above, on a lone ship, Kikono watched with a sly smile. This was going great. As one of the Ozaru attempts to fire at Frieza, he dodges out of the way and into the middle of a group of his own soldiers. But with a slight opening, Ginyu finally has one clear shot. He will only get one chance. Quickly, he utilizes his body change technique. But have you ever wondered why Ginyu never used this in the first place? Well, Frieza's just way too fast. He could have easily dodged out of the way for this. But instead, without even turning around to look at Ginyu, Frieza's tail wraps around one of his own soldier's leg. The tyrant uses the soldier as a meat shield. Ginyu can't stop it now, and his body changes with a random soldier. Frieza laughs hysterically. Ginyu's doomed. However, Goldo has a chance to do something. Utilizing his time stop, he's able to save Ginyu out of the grasp of Frieza. But as soon as he begins breathing again, Frieza turns to Goldo and kills him with a single shot through the heart. Frieza had enough. He was going to have to transform into his second state. Rikum and the remaining Ginyu force yelled back at the king to prepare. Most Saiyans were just going crazy, but those who could control themselves focused on Frieza. Frieza stood still, an incredible power surging from within. This drew the attention of the Ozarus who had no self-control. Zarbon knew this was the time.
Now!
Paragus yelled in unison with Zarbon. All the Saiyans and remaining forces fired a blast at Frieza as he started to transform. Even he couldn't handle such a punishment from so many Ozarus when he needed to concentrate his power in order to shapeshift his body. The screams of Frieza echoed through the world, and Broly, who had not transformed because he didn't have a tail, felt a little sad. Paragus ordered the Saiyans to stop. The smoke slowly dissipated, and the frail Frieza, with mutated parts of his body between his first and second form, and maybe even his third, shook in fear. They had disrupted the transformation and nearly killed the tyrant. But he wasn't dead just yet. Paragus whispered, looking down at his son. The young boy stepped towards Frieza. The king and the prince protested, but Nappa said to let that runt sacrifice himself for the cause. No need for the prince and the king to get dirty. Broly looked at Frieza in the eyes. Frieza went in for a punch, but Broly dodged out of the way, appearing behind Frieza and letting a small ki ball fall from his palm. The moment it touched Frieza, a massive explosion shook the whole planet, killing Frieza once and for all. As the Ozaru kept going insane, Zarbon destroyed the artificial moon, making everyone return to normal. It was done. Frieza's reign was over. The soldiers who were loyal to him gave up immediately. The Ginyu Force said their goodbyes, and slowly, Planet Vegeta became a hub for just the Saiyans. Except for Zarbon, he stuck around for the final ceremony. Standing over Frieza's dead body, King Vegeta began his speech.
Tonight we joined forces with those who once stood above us, but now we are equals. The Saiyan race is no longer a tool for a tyrant. We are our own warriors, ready to begin anew. It was thanks to my cunning ability to lead, as well as the efforts of all of you.
Paragus clenched his fist again. He wasn't really about to take credit for all of this, was he? Paragus was the hero here. He led the forces, and his son killed Frieza.
And of course, I couldn't have done this without a little help from General Paragus and his son. He will be given a much safer exile than before, soon after this ceremony. Come, Paragus.
Paragus cracked. King Vegeta was never going to change. He was still the slimy man he knew. Zarbon smirked, standing behind the king. Paragus walked up to the stage, kneeling before King Vegeta. Paragus looked up at the king, swiftly moving his hand to meet his glance. A green orb of ki radiated. King Vegeta gave one final gasp as Paragus blasted him. The prince's eyes widened, but Zarbon chopped him in the back of the neck, knocking him out. Zarbon walked up to Paragus, who now stood over the body of both King Vegeta and Frieza. Zarbon took Paragus' arm and lifted it up.
The king is dead. Long live the king!
A mixture of cheers and yelling consumed the arena. Bardock held Guinea close. They feared for what future Planet Vegeta held. Planet Paragus. It's nothing like it used to be. It had only been a few months since the last battle against Frieza, but everything had changed in that time. King Paragus sat alone on his throne, light shining through the broken roof and onto his face. He sighed. Several meters under him, the young Prince Vegeta sat on his knees, powerless. Around his neck was a shock collar, similar to Broly's. In front of him was Broly himself, who just stared at the knocked-out prince. He was surrounded by scorch marks from the various times the prince had tried to blast them through his mouth. They finally ended up gagging him with a mouth guard. The prince was completely defenseless and very hurt. Broly was tasked with keeping an eye on him at all times. After all, he was the strongest fighter around. The young Saiyans were unaware of the rebellion beginning. In the lower levels of Planet Vegeta, Bardock and his squad held secret meetings. Together, they devised a plan to get the king out of the throne. However, too many Saiyans were loyal to him. They saw Paragus and Broly as war heroes, and wouldn't turn on him easily.
We have to rescue Prince Vegeta. That's the only way we can inspire others to join us. He'll be a symbol.
How can you be sure that it'll work? I'm not, but it's one of our only chances.
All of the warriors around Bardock looked at him worried, and Guinea caressed his cheek. He had gained new battle scars since this all began. They had been forced out of their homes for not agreeing to kneel in front of the new king. Paragus was ruthless, sending all the elites off to die in various worlds, torturing the prince, etc. He only kept the most loyal ones to him. He even began a search party to look for Tarbell, Vegeta's younger brother, with the sole purpose of torturing him. Thankfully, Paragus was running low on scouters. Without Frieza to supply them, they were blind to attacks, and likewise, couldn't find the rogue Saiyans. Zarbon did try to help a little, as he respected him, and found the civil war entertaining. But he was always busy with the power vacuum left behind by the death of Frieza. Some remained loyal to the family, and King Cold was not happy with his son's death. He saw the Saiyans as useless monkeys that would eventually kill themselves off, but cared much more about the likes of Zarbon, Ginyu, and Kikono. The civil war was destructive, mainly because of how unorganized everyone was. While some did follow Bardock, others tried to take down the king on their own. In fact, Shugesh, one of Bardock's squadmates, grew tired of waiting and attempted to attack the castle on his own. Broly and Paragus quickly killed him. The Saiyans spread it out in the underground to rest, while Guinea and Bardock sat behind a curtain on their bed, quietly. The two didn't speak for a few minutes, until Guinea burst out in tears. Bardock held her close.
I know. I wish it wasn't this way. Kakarot on another planet, and Raditz.
Guinea's cries became louder, and the next morning, Bardock finished telling the Saiyans about his plan. They had been training for a few months now, right under the king's nose. They have all gotten stronger, but still not close to the elite's powers. Saiyans don't usually train because of their natural strength being enough for most foes, but these were dire circumstances, and they were forced to do it. King Paragus was losing it day by day as he called down his elites to bring up a low-class Saiyan for him to beat on. Bardock and the others watched from far away as they took Tora. Bardock clenched his fist, angry, but he couldn't do anything. He was lucky enough about the lack of scouters not alerting the king about their power-up. He couldn't risk it. Bardock was going to say something, he had to. But then, he met Tora's eyes. They were defiant, ready to face the king. Bardock realized that this may be good for their cause. As soon as they were gone, Bardock and the other Saiyans went on two separate ships towards the castle. While one went to the back, the other went to the front. Guinea, Borgos, and a handful of other Saiyans came out of their ship to the front of the castle.
We are here to talk to the king about our next mission.
Get out of here, low class!
Meanwhile, Bardock, Fasha, and others opened the ship doors, peeking through it while watching from the outside of the stained glass window. They watched as the king drags the already hurt Tora towards the back, going down the stairs. The ship moves around, to look for another window, seeing how the king and Tora enter a chamber. And at the other end of the hall, Bardock sees Broly going into a different room. They can't enter from there, so they went around to another window, their dining room.
What do you mean your husband's a great scientist? Isn't he that low-class warrior Bardock?
She, meant her sister's husband. He works with the incubators we wanted to drop off food.
Yeah, whatever. I said out!
An explosion comes from the inside and the guards turn around alarmed.
What the?
Guinea slams her fist against the guard's jaw, while Borgo smashed his head against the other guard. The team ran inside to meet more guards, and the battle began. Meanwhile, Paragus continued beating Tora. The explosion from above was drowned out by the punches against Tora's face, but he did notice some rumbling. He decided to go out, but he had to land one last punch against Tora. When he turned around to punch him in the face, Tora grabbed Paragus' fists and blasted him back. At the same time, Bardock and his team had just blasted through the dining room. He stopped, dead on his tracks, as he looked up to see King Vegeta's armor hanging above the throne. With a hole, Paragus had blasted through him in the middle of the chest. There was no time to waste. Guinea and her team kept the guards busy, though they were slowly getting overwhelmed. Bardock and his team ran down the steps towards the room where Tora was being kept. Fasha kicked the door down, but the king was nowhere to be found. It was just a bloodied up Tora with a broken arm.
I got him good, guys. He's quite hurt. He couldn't have gone far.
What happened to you?
He called down Broly. It's a miracle I'm not dead. But Bardock, that kid just wanted to protect his dad.
Quiet, Tora. It's okay.
You'll be okay. No, Bardock. This is it for me. It's up to you guys now.
Tora's eyes blanked out as he passed out. Though not dead yet, he was close to it. Bardock held his dying friend in his arms. As he put him down, he saw all the blood on his hands. Bardock was seeing red in pure rage. He unwrapped the bandage around Tora's arm, which was soaking up blood. Bardock then wrapped it around his forehead, ready to avenge his friend. He told Leek to stay behind with them as Bardock and the others ran towards the dungeon at the other side of the hall. Guinea and her team was slowly being pushed back, but they had to hold them off from getting close to Bardock's team. Just then, Guinea was hit by a blast that sent her flying back. She looked up to see just who hit her, and she was horrified. It was Raditz, her own son. She knew that he had joined Paragus, just like many other younger Saiyans. Guinea begged her son to join them, but he wasn't listening. To him, Paragus was a war hero. He didn't see just how ruthless he was towards his own people. At least King Vegeta had honor. Guinea didn't want to fight her son, but there was little choice for her since she was being attacked. But a battle began between the two. Borgo stepped in. He didn't like the idea of Guinea fighting her own son, so at the very least, he could help. Elites joined Raditz as they fought the two Saiyans. As Bardock and Fasha went through the halls, they ran into Nappa, guarding the door where Vegeta was being held. Bardock landed a solid punch against his face, but Bardock stopped the second punch. He looked at them solemnly.
I couldn't save him on my own. I'll join you.
They were surprised, but they knew Nappa had a liking for the prince. Great, the more the merrier. They finally opened the door up, but Bardock was met with a powerful punch against his face as soon as he opened the door. Inside was a hurt Paragus holding his hand against the prince's forehead, ready to blast them.
Rebel scum! Why do you want this brat anyways? Prince Vegeta!
It's over, Paragus. We're tired of your tyranny.
But Bardock looked up to see who had punched him. It was Broly. They all knew of his legendary power. For such a young kid, he was so powerful. What could they do? Fasha goes in to attack Broly along with Nappa, but they are both hurled out. They're gonna try again, but Bardock stops them. Slowly, he walks up to Broly. He was biting his tongue, keeping his emotions about Tora in check.
Broly, I know you don't like hurting people. You just want to protect your dad, right? We're not gonna hurt him.
Don't listen to him, son. He's a traitor. He wants to take your future throne.
Paragus pointed his hand out to Bardock, away from Vegeta. This gave him a chance to smash his elbow against Paragus' chest, knocking him down. Nappa and Fasha blasted the two chains holding Vegeta, and the prince fell to his knees. He was skinny and badly hurt. No doubt, Paragus had forced Broly to use him to train. Broly turned around to see his dad on the ground, but he was fine. And Paragus stood up. Nappa grabbed onto Vegeta. Paragus tried to electrocute Vegeta, but Bardock blasted the remote control away. Although Paragus told Broly to stop them, his son just ran over to him and checked if his father was doing okay. Paragus pushed him away. Guinea and Raditz's fight continues as more Saiyans begin to fall, but the cavalry had arrived. Bardock, Nappa, Fasha, and even Vegeta began to fight against those loyal to Paragus. But Bardock tried to get his son. To his surprise, Guinea and Borgos were both badly hurt on the ground, with Raditz ready to blast them. Although he was young, he was still powerful for his age. Additionally, a handful of other Saiyans helped him through the battle. As he was about to kill them both, Bardock jumped in front of the blast, burning his arm. Bardock didn't want to fight his son, but he had truly been brainwashed by Paragus. He asked if they had killed the king, but Bardock stayed quiet. Raditz goes in for an attack again, but Bardock disappears and reappears behind his son, hammering his fist against Raditz's back. This knocked him out instantly, and Bardock threw him over his shoulder. Just then, Bardock was hit with multiple ki blasts on the back. He falls to the ground, and Gine screams his name. Suddenly, the attacks stop, and all the remaining elites are blasted away. Bardock turns around to see Broly, who yelled at them to escape. Without a word, the surviving members of Bardock's rebellion fly off to the lower levels of planet Vegeta, followed by Broly. They had to bring the prince to the Saiyans, show them that there's still hope, an alternative to Paragus. Far above the castle, the blue figure of Zarbon watched the battles go down with a smirk. Saiyans were very entertaining. As the Saiyans landed down on the village, every other Saiyan that wasn't part of the rebellion cheered loudly. They saw the prince land down. They lifted him up, calling him king, and Bardock declared him so. Though some questioned it, most agreed that Vegeta was the rightful new king. Broly smiled at him too, although Vegeta looked at him quietly. No way he could forgive him for the attacks. Broly stepped back at the look. Leek put a hand on Bardock's shoulder and put his head down. Tora had not survived. Bardock sighed, putting a hand on his headband. But Tora gave up his life for something good. Now they could all rest, and arrest the king when Broly wasn't around.
King? King? I am your king!
Paragus flew down, looking over the crowd. He was ready to attack them all, but the crowd instead began to throw things at him, and shooting ki blasts. Boos erupted. Paragus had really just threatened them. Broly begged them to stop, but the crowd began to cheer for Vegeta to kill Paragus. Vegeta laughed, his adrenaline rushing. Bardock tried to stop him, but Paragus blasted at the crowd, and Vegeta did so right back, with a Gallic gun. Even heard, Vegeta was a huge force to deal with, and Paragus was killed. The blast traveled all the way to the castle, exploding it. Cheers got louder, but Bardock ran over to Broly and tried to calm him down. They knew of his angry power, but they weren't ready for this. Lightning struck the ground and Broly screamed out. Everyone was pushed away. When they looked back up, they saw the true power of legend. The legendary Super Saiyan. The crowd screamed in fear, but Fasha, Borgos, Nappa, and Leek stood tall in front of Vegeta to defend them. But without moving a finger, Broly's aura pushed away all the Saiyans from the king. Gine held tight to the unconscious Raditz as she watched Broly knee Vegeta's stomach. All the Saiyans tried to attack him, but it looked as if it didn't hurt him at all. Vegeta fell to the ground in pain, spitting out blood. Even while captured, he wasn't afraid. But this scared him. Bardock slid in front of Broly with his arms out.
Broly, stop! Your father was a tyrant! Vegeta simply...
Broly grabbed Bardock by the neck, slamming him against the ground, creating a crater. Gine screamed out one more time. Broly shifted his view back up to look at Vegeta, but he wasn't there. So instead, Broly began to focus on the other Saiyans, blasting at them, beating them down. Nobody stood a chance against Broly. In a last-ditch effort, Nappa created an artificial moon. Vegeta's and Broly's tails were both cut off by Paragus, so they didn't transform. Gine ran inside a house with Bardock in order to not transform and not lose consciousness, taking care of Raditz. Everyone else began to go mad. Some elites could control it, but it was chaos all around. Some focused on Broly, but even with multiple Ozarus, Broly's Super Saiyan power was too much. Vegeta watched the destruction and death from above.
You lot never change. Lord Frieza did say you'd be your own undoing.
Vegeta turned around to see Zarbon.
I can tell you're worried, Prince. That Super Saiyan power was truly something Frieza was rightful in being afraid of. Pity. It would have been useful against King Cold, but if I can't use it...
Zarbon grabbed Vegeta by the hair, chucking him down to the middle of the Ozaru War, where he landed next to Broly.
Then no one can.
Zarbon went into his ship, flying away from the planet. Those Saiyans could kill themselves. No way the planet could withstand another Ozaru rampage. Vegeta looked up. He tried to fight off the Ozarus, since most of them were nothing compared to his power. But Broly blasted him up to the sky easily. Vegeta couldn't believe it. He was the king for only a few minutes. If his kingdom was going to go down, it would go down his way.
If I can't have my kingdom, if I have to be outshined by a nobody, then at least I will take you all down with me!
Vegeta threw down a giant blast of ki with every single bit of his power. It pierced through the planet, and all the Ozarus followed suit, blasting down at the planet. Monkey see, monkey do. Gine and Bardock grabbed onto Raditz, rushing to space spots nearby, trying to not look at the moon. It was only a matter of time, but as planet Vegeta began to explode, Broly did as much as he could to defeat all the Ozarus around him. One by one they fell, until there was finally only a handful left. But Broly was getting tired. He simply landed and walked to his father. Looking over, he saw Vegeta's body laying next to it. He had fallen unconscious after using all his power. 2 dead kings on the same night. Broly closed his eyes as planet Paragus, nay, planet Vegeta, exploded. Zarbon had bigger matters to attend to than just silly Saiyans. There was a power vacuum created by Frieza since he died, and above that, King Cold could show up any day. Was it the right choice to kill Frieza? He only regretted not seeing Broly's true powers sooner. He could have used them. Thank you so much for watching this complete story version of What If the Saiyans Rebelled. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. The next video coming up is the sequel to What If Goku and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Super ended up in Dragon Ball GT. After that, I have What If Goku and Vegeta kept their tails, and a different version of What If Goku joined the Saiyans. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. We're only like 600 subscribers away from 100,000. It's incredible. I can't thank you guys enough. I'm sorry for putting 2 of these full story version videos in a row, but I'm in the middle of finals now, about to finish the semester. I'm just putting these out to lighten my workload a little bit while I work on other videos and study and all that stuff. Thank you for your patience, guys. As always, I gotta give a shout out to the Super Saiyan Legend members of the channel: Anime Asteroid, Jiggly Booties, Ragov, Pro Gamer Shooter, Erica Brown, and Mech. Thank you for your support, guys. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll meet you guys next time. See ya!
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Smugstick, unless you want to be destroyed.
Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.